Hey everybody, in this video we are going to take a look at a really interesting architecture I came up with. I called it the synthetic thought frameworks, which is able to actually think of many different thought frameworks, then push it through some kind of evaluation, and then create apps. I have created 400 original apps based on it. We will talk about all of this, but let's first run it and see how it works. When we first run it, we enter iteration. We sample 5 micro out of the 20 that is available, and each one of these mines are creating 5 thought fragments. They're instructed to be novel, and we are saving all of these thought fragments along with their evaluation. Only the thought fragments that pass a certain level of evaluation are saved into this high quality fragments, and only these fragments are used to create some app because the final result is going to be actually a Python application. And as we can see here, we have found 2 high quality fragments out of the 25 that was provided. And the agent goes ahead and has a scratch pad. If we were to look at the fragments, this one is about shift towards experiential consumption plus normalization of subscription models across various sectors. And based on these 2 fragments, the agent worked on a sketchpad and created the code, and then the code is being saved into this architected code using their model agent is instructed to use the unified class for this. This is the first app, and this is the second app that it has created. First one is AI-powered workshop platform. Second one is experience subscription generator. Sometimes, if no code fragments qualify, then it goes on and samples another 5 mines out of the micromine personalities, as I call them. I have designed 20 of them. Like I said, we'll be talking about all of this, but the code files for this will be available at my Patreon at the connoisseur level. But all of the apps that I created, over 400 of them, all original, will be available at the architect level. Links for this will be in the description. Let's take a look at how this all works. Actually, lately I have been meditating, and in my meditation practice, I'm instructed to observe my thought patterns. And when you do that, you realize that a lot of the thoughts just occur out of nowhere. And I was just trying to simulate this. But to actually keep it varied, I came up with different so-called micro minds or personalities. For example, this one is a small business growth strategist. This is a digital marketing specialist, personal finance advisor, e-commerce optimization expert. So all of these are supposed to generate up to 5 thought fragments, actually 5 thought fragments, and they have instructions on how they should do it. And if we actually take a look at this chart, so we design 20, let's say, micro mines. And out of these mines, for each iteration, we sample a random 5 of them to keep it varied and original. And we allow each micro mine to create 5 thought fragments. And then we pass that through an evaluation function. And if the thought fragments, total of 25 in this case, if whichever one's passed through the evaluator goes to a code generator. So our bottom line is when we actually reach to high quality fragments, we are instructing the agent to produce apps related to that. You can, of course, modify any aspect of this, have more micromines or have more thoughts processes generated, or actually modify the actual mines themselves. Or perhaps the final agent be something else other than the novel code generator. So as you can see, we've already built some more applications such as experience subscription generator, AI-powered workshop platform. I also have eval functionality. This eval is different than the evaluation of thought fragments. This app eval actually will pass all of these apps through an evaluation based on usefulness, creativity, code quality, and potential impact, and save them to a winning apps folder. We can actually run that too. I've set it up pretty strictly, so let's see if any of the apps will actually pass this. Currently, out of all the ones that you have generated, this happens in parallel, uses GPT-4 Mini. I did have to give it the proper directory for where the architected code is. And it will evaluate it up to 20 by 20 at a time in parallel. So here are the winners. Actually, our stringent criteria, none of them actually passed our criteria because I set the average score criteria to 8.5. If we were to run it with, let's say, 7.5, hopefully more of them will pass through. So this is just another quality check you can apply. Now they are being evaluated, and only two of them actually passed this test: collaborative storytelling network and AI-powered workshop platform. You can, of course, adjust the evaluation criteria and the scoring as well. By the way, as this is working in the background, I'd like to let you know about the hackathon I just started. I call it the ECHOHIVE Hackathon for Architect Plus level patrons. So this is open for all my architect or above level patrons. The time frame to submit your application is from 18th to 31st of August. The prices will be: the first place will win a 1 hour one-on-one meeting with me, which is $150 value. Second and third place will get 30 minutes one-on-one meeting, $75 value. All top 5 projects we will demo during a YouTube live stream I will be doing to evaluate the submissions. And the evaluation will actually be performed by a 9-panel AI judges, 3 GPT-4o, 3 Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and 3 Gemini 1.5. The judges will actually evaluate the hackathon submissions by usefulness, creativity, code structure, and practicality. This requires the usage of unified.py. If you need to learn more about it, the link will be in the description. Okay, if I were to let this run, it is just going to go ahead and run until it reaches the 100 iterations, which was specified here. But I'm going to go ahead and actually cancel it. And we can actually observe some of these apps that it created. For example, AI-driven customer engagement system. As you can see, it has the SEO profile AI, Insight AI. I try to run it. Sometimes they'll have issues. Oh, yes, I do have to copy the unified.py because agent is instructed to use the unified. So all I have to do is just copy it in this architected code. And when I run this, it initialized SEO micro content AI, customer service profile AI, engagement insights AI, and it started processing a query: what are the best smartphones for photography? And it started answering that. Let's take a look at one of the winners, AI-powered workshop platform. Here it says you're an AI assistant that generates workshop outlines. Return a JSON object with keys, title, modules. Let's run this and see how that works. Again, I have to copy the unified.py file here since we are using that. Okay, running it initialized 2 AIs, and it goes on to create AI in education modules. So current application of AI, ethical consideration. So this is like a workshop development platform, and it goes ahead and creates the entire structured content too. And this is interesting. So like I said, we just created while making this video about 20 apps, but I have went ahead and created over 400 apps. It will be very difficult to review them, but I will be uploading it to my Patreon for Architect Plus patrons. Feel free to go through with them and let me know if you find anything that is interesting. And these, of course, I said, code files, synthetic thought frameworks will be available for connoisseur level and the 400 plus apps at architect level. Now let's take a look at how this code works. Let's begin with micromind personalities, which is used by the synthetic thought frameworks.py. So in micromind personalities, we are using GPT-4o Mini as the fragment generator, and we are using unified APIs, which is a class I created to conveniently be able to use GPT-4o 3.5 Sonnet or any model from OpenRouter, but by default Gemini Pro 1.5. You can, of course, change the model names as we are doing right here in the micromind personalities to use GPT-4o Mini. So this response format is going to be used by all microminds. we're going to get a JSON response, and this JSON object is going to include a text fragment and an evaluation of it immediately by interestingness, usefulness, impact, novelty, and practicality. Feel free to change these, so on. We do say so on because we will be instructing it on number of fragments, which will be 5 in our case. We are instructing it to be very critical. So this is just a string, which we will be appending to the end. Just generate fragments function is going to take in a provider. In this case, going to be OpenAI with GPT-4o Mini. Number of fragments going to be 5. Persona name is going to be picked up from the Minds dictionary and a system message. We initialize the unified APIs with the persona name fragment generator, whatever the micromind name is. Provider model name, we do turn on JSON mode and we do use async so we can get all of them at the same time. And here we use the unified API set system message to set the system message plus the response format. So whatever the system message for each mind plus the response format as we defined right up here. So the rest of it is the definition of 20 minds, and we have a function which says generate mind fragments, takes in a mind name, and then it calls in the generate fragments function, which we had defined up here with the necessary parameters. In this case, the number we are requesting 5 fragments. So synthetic thought frameworks imports this minds and the generate mind fragments function, and we set max iterations. This is totally up to you. And at this point, we are going to be running the evaluation results. The evaluation will happen automatically. We're going to let each model or each micromind self-evaluate, but we are not doing any calculation based on this so far. But we will be doing it here. So we have a function called generate novel code, which is going to take in the high quality fragments after the evaluation. We are using Anthropic for this 3.5 Sonnet. And we are reading the unified.py's contents because we are going to instruct the model or the agent to actually use this unified.py file to create the apps it's themselves. So we read the contents and we have a very long system message. You can see that you're a creative and innovative Python developer. Let me zoom in a little bit. Your task is to generate novel and creative Python code using Unified APIs class based on the thought fragments provided. So if we pass here, the we do say code should be unique, interesting, and demonstrate innovative uses. Content of the unified py, we pass, and then we pass in some instructions for unified, because even though it can understand for the most part, how the unified.py file works, but by experimentation, I found these instructions actually help. When using async to set async to true, when using JSON mode to set JSON mode true, always use default models unless otherwise specified. Don't use caching because unified.py can use caching with the 3.5 Sonnet model. I have talked about this in a previous video. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about the Unified API, please watch this video. You can find all my videos at my website, ECHOHIVE.live. And if you're a patron, you can go download links there as well. But here is my prompt caching video as well, if you wanted to take a look at it. And a 6 AI apps in 15 minutes using Unified API along with Cursor. Anyway, when using class system message, we do say that it's inserted as an API parameter. So it's just some instructions for how to use Unified and general rules to use only UTF-8 characters, for example, when saving or reading files. The thought fragments are only for inspiration, create useful and practical code. Carefully analyze the Unified API class to ensure that generated code aligns with its usage possibilities. Then we pass in a scratchpad so it can do some planning here. Focus on novelty, creativity, and originality. Feel free to change any one of these. Then it returns the code plus the file name. Then we create a prompt. So this was the system message here where we will be passing the high quality fragments. Then we instruct it again to create novel and creative Python code. And prompt is going to pass into the chat async method. That's about it. And we create an architected code folder. If it doesn't exist, create a file counter just in case. And for iteration, in the max iterations, we print that number. We sample 5 random minds from the micromine personalities that we had created. And then we create a fragment tasks called the generate mind fragments for each mind and create a list. And we call that with async.gather. We initialize all fragments and high quality fragments, and we go over each response and we look for the fragments. We append it to the all fragments because we're going to save it to all fragments.json. This happens in each iteration. And then high quality fragments will be saved here if any of them pass the evaluation. Then we average the score, and then we check if the average score is over 8.2. So this is just I came up with it by trial and error, but you can feel free to lower this or higher it. If it passes this average score rating, then we add it to high quality fragments and we save them to file. They say here we see it using UTF-8 encoding. And if we have any high quality fragments, then we print the number of them. And then we call the generate novel code, passing in each text from the high quality fragments. And then we find the code XML tags so that we can extract the code, generated code, and get the file name. And then we create the file name to be written under the architected code folder. And then we write it, and then we print, and then we increase the file counter. And we wait for 1 second to move on to the next iteration. So this is about it. This is a really interesting implementation. I really enjoyed it. I haven't gotten the chance to actually go over all the apps that it had created, but there's some really cool apps that it can create. Obviously, it's going to be a hit or miss, but the fact that it's a bit like searching for like the high quality material by allowing it to generate a bunch of original apps. And sometimes you get some really interesting ones. So here's a privacy coach and adaptive learning. So, once you have some idea that you think is almost working, you can also go ahead and edit this along with cursor, right? And that's why I also included the app eval. Let's talk about that too. So this is just going to evaluate each code fragment, app that was generated using GPT-4o MIDI. And based on usefulness, creativity, code quality, it returns, again, up to 10, and we average it. We do pass the codes in 20 batches, batches of 20. Feel free to change this. Because the reason is, if you want to evaluate 100 or more, we are still using JSON mode and not structured outputs. And sometimes if it doesn't return the correct JSON, then our parsing is going to return error. So that's why I'm just doing it 20 by 20. And we just get the evaluation score, and whatever passes over the score, then we move those or actually copy those files to the winners folder. So this is how it works. Yeah. Like I said, the code files will be available at my Patreon, but all the created apps will be available at the architect level. The app creation is pretty cheap. Each app maybe costs something like 3 cents, perhaps. So all these created apps cost me perhaps over 400 of them cost me about maybe $15. I actually would like to generate more, but I first want to go over it. Maybe I'll make another video where we dig into the created apps more in detail. Don't forget about the hackathon. Like I said, it's open for Architect Plus patrons. And if you do decide to become an Architect Plus patron, know that you will have access to all my code files, project files, which you can find easily at my website, ECHOHIVE.live. You'll also have access to all my courses, most importantly, 1000x Masterclass, in which I built applications. Over 16 of them. Each zip file contains a video of me building an app in full, plus its project files. Patrons also get to meet with me every week in the AMA live coding meetings. So link for all of those is going to be in the description. And I also made some deals with Monoflow and Boring Launch to offer some discounts for my paying patrons, the Architect Plus patrons. Get $100 off from Monoflow from their $200 deal. This is a really interesting app. I'm actually going to make a video on this. Just check them out. You can use it in demo mode for free just to test it out. But Architect Plus patrons gets $100 off, and the Boring Launch offers $70 off. For Architect patrons, they actually list your AI startup to 100 plus platforms in 7 days. And my Connoisseur patrons get $40 off. Codes for all that is in Patreon posts, and link to all those is in the description. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.